Hi, this is Mrs. Abdul. Welcome to the summer reading lists and assignments for 12th grade at Albany High School. Where to get all the information after this video is through is at the Albany High School summerreading.weebly.com website. It includes all of the tabs, information, and assignments that we'll be discussing. The first set of books are choices for the 12 prep class. This is 1. Walter Dean Myers' Sunrise Over Fallujah follows Robin, who is serving in the U.S. military and is part of an operation that is peacekeeping in nature after the initial push through Fallujah in Iraq. And so he's suffering from a lot of doubt and nervousness about the situations that he's coming in contact with, actually considered historical fiction at this point because this happened in the early 2000s. The next book is The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold. Susie Salmon is the narrator, and she's narrating from heaven. She has been raped and murdered, and now her body is missing. So she is seeing everything happening afterward to both her family in not knowing what has happened to her, and also looking down on the criminal who was responsible for her death. That one's called The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold. The next book is 13 Reasons Why. This is by Jay Asher. He was one of the authors for Teen Reader Con that happened this past fall. In this story, Hannah has committed suicide, but before she commits suicide, decides to record the 13 people and reasons that were responsible for her committing suicide. After she records them, she sends them out to those people to be able to hear after the fact what they did to her. The next one is Stuck in Neutral by Terry Truman, one of the shortest books on the list. Sean is the main character who suffers from severe cerebral palsy. His father has skipped out on them many years ago because of the struggles with Sean, who is nonverbal and unable to care for himself, but he has an impeccable memory and is able to pick up on the fact that his father may be trying to kill him in order to get some fame off of the situation. That one's Stuck in Neutral. The next book is After by Amy Efau, and if you look closely at the cover, you'll see that in the reflection, the main character of the story is pregnant, but the main cover is her kind of thin physique. The book opens up with the main character who is a soccer star and an up-and-coming, really good girl who has been hiding her pregnancy for the last 9 months. She gives birth in her apartment and leaves the baby in a dumpster out back. Somebody discovers that baby and is now on the hunt to figure out who the mother was. The next book is Darius and Twig. This is another story by Walter Dean Myers on the list. Darius and Twig are kind of unlikely friends. One of them is a runner, one of them is a writer. And they both kind of share the experiences of growing up in Harlem and what could go wrong if they choose the wrong path. That one's called Darius and Twig. The next one up is a memoir called The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls. And what most people would consider kind of a fun, spunky childhood, going here and there with your parents, was actually really more about their parents' alcoholism and mental illness that wasn't picked up on when she was obviously younger, and about the repercussions that had later on in life, both for her siblings, for her parents, and herself. Many people that read The Glass Castle come back and want to read more of Jeanette Walls' stories. And then Yummy, The Last Days of a South Side Shorty by G. Neri. This one is actually based on the true story of Robert, whose nickname was Yummy. At 10 years old, he was involved in a shooting and in retaliation was shot himself. And in the 1980s, his face was on the cover of Time magazine as part of the epidemic of shootings on the street and what was happening to the youth at the time. That one's called Yummy, and again, it's a graphic novel, but it's based on his true story. Those of you going into AP Literature have 2 books to read, as well as the essay assignment. Your 2 books include The Awakening and Mark Twain's Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. If you're going into IB 12th grade, same thing. You have 2 books to read for part of your assignment, and they include Things Fall Apart, as well as Tim O'Brien's The Things They Carry. Those of you that are going into any of the senior electives that include fiction writing, African American and women in literature, or horror fiction and film, your assignment is a little bit different in that you're not reading a book. You are going to be reading articles, watching some videos, writing a couple Common App essays, and blogging, commenting about the articles and videos that you are watching and reading. All of those articles, as well as the video, are attached on the Albany High School summerreading.weebly.com website, including the tab for the blog at the top. Be sure to check back throughout the entire summer for part of that. Those of you going into explorations, for medical and health exploration, you are reading Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, along with a few other articles for your assignment that can be found on the 12th grade tab. And those of you going into the criminal justice explorations will be reading In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. So that is the summer reading list for 12th grade for Albany High School. You can stay connected with the library on Twitter at ALBHSLIB or through our Goodreads Book Lovers Club. Enjoy your summer, be safe, and in order to find the books, you can use the tab that includes the links to the Albany Public Library, our library, as well as a place like the Book House or the Barnes & Noble and Colony Center to purchase the books. Stay safe.